Well, welcome to It's an Inside Job BiteSize Fridays, your weekly dose of resilience, optimism, and well-being to get you ready for the weekend. Now, each week, I'll bring you insightful tips and uplifting stories to help you navigate life's challenges and embrace a more positive mindset. And so with that said, let's slip into the stream. In today's episode, we are going to go down into the archives to pull up Season 5, Episode 6, where I had a fascinating conversation with Mustafa. Now, he's a best-selling author and expert on mindset mastery and personal resilience. In this clip, you'll discover practical steps to overcome the mental and emotional roadblocks that hold us back. Now, by the end of the segment, you'll gain a clear understanding of how to address and overcome past limitations, a practical exercise to reframe your personal story and take control of your mindset, and finally, tips on creating lasting habits that support ongoing personal growth and resilience. So in this episode, Mustafa is going to walk you through a systematic approach to rewrite your personal narrative so you can release the past and accelerate toward your future with clarity and confidence. You're also going to learn the importance of consistent mental maintenance with actionable tips to reinforce positive changes in your mindset. So without further ado, let's slip into the stream into this week's Bite-Size Friday episode.
Your mindset impacts your behavior, your thoughts. Your mindset impacts your thoughts, and your thoughts impacts your behavior, and your behavior impacts your actions. And actions impact results. And guess what results impact? Your mindset. That's the closed loop that happens. And I'll give you a great example for those that have been working during the, I'll say, before the global financial crisis, and it could apply to the pandemic. Think before any major issue, economical meltdowns, pandemic, or whatever, people were hitting their targets. They walk into the room. If you were in sales, you walk into the room going, dude, my target is $1 million. I've hit the $1 million next year. 1.3 million. No problem. I'm getting my bonuses. Because you're operating from a mindset of achievement. Pandemic hit. Same person, same company, same meeting room. 3 months later, try talking to them about their target. They're thinking, I can't even hit 10% of my target. Now, let's be realistic. The year hasn't finished yet. We're still at the beginning of the pandemic, and nobody knew where that was going. I can guarantee you, everybody was thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to make that money. We're not working. What's happening including me? What's happening? I had the publishing business. That was going to hit rock bottom. I was going to lose the whole business. I was sitting and scratching my head. Oh my God, what am I going to do? How can I fix it? Like, I've spent years building this business going down the drain now. And because most of my clients at that time were HR managers and they all lost their jobs. So I didn't know who to sell to. I had to do a mindset shift. When I did the mindset shift into, hold on, I can achieve results. What do I need to do to achieve those results? Then my behavior changed. And when my behavior changed, my actions changed accordingly. And according to those actions, my results changed and my confidence increased. So I'm just giving case in hand example. I went from a situation where my publishing business gonna hit rock bottom and just go vanish, and I doubled my author portfolio in the first year of the pandemic. That till date, I've done better in that year than a lot of the years that came after that or before that. That was simply because of a small mindset shift that I did.
So let me ask you, so we've talked about sort of narrative, we talked about mindset, we've talked about thinking, and some listeners may be thinking, okay, what's the difference between a mindset and thought? Isn't a mindset a collection of thoughts that drive the mindset? Or do you separate sort of operationally to define thinking or thoughts different from mindset? Because if mindset drives thought, which drives emotion, which drives behavior, which gives a positive or negative result and then feeds back into mindset. Just to challenge you, what is the difference between a thought and a mindset?
I love your questions. I mean, they're very deep thought, and obviously I haven't thought about that angle of the conversation before. Reality is mindset, if I would say mindset would be the ground that you're planting the thoughts in. That would be my intuitive answer to your question. Because if you have, think of it this way, and that's part of the reason why affirmations in principle don't work. Okay, if you do them alone, you are planting an affirmation, which is a beautiful thought, into a ground that has a negative mindset. Anybody who's in any sort of farming, even if you had a proper house plant, you know, if you put the wrong seed in the right seed in the wrong soil, it's not going to come out. There has to be a match. Mindset is that ground where you're planting those thoughts in. Of course, good thoughts make the ground that you're planting it better, because now you have a forest of beautiful thoughts that feeds, and then you have a whole ecosystem. Then the question becomes, well, what is feeding what? Is your mindset feeding your thoughts, or your thoughts feeding that? It's a closed circle. It doesn't matter. As long as you've got a positive upward spiral, better than a negative downward spiral. So I would say mindset remains to be the foundation. Thoughts, a lot of positive thoughts can build a good mindset, but vice versa doesn't work. If you have a negative mindset, you can keep adding. It won't do the work unless you do deep work plus daily meditations. Over time, you change the microbiome of your mindset, then sure, that would work.
Yeah, because I think that's a very clear picture for people to understand, to distinguish, because that earth, that soil you speak to, that is based on your experience. And if the experience you had from your past is one that you've written a negative story about, then obviously you're going to be, positive affirmations or positive thoughts are not going to grow there. But I think what I hear you saying, Mustafa, is that if we reframe what has happened to us. For example, if something bad happened to us, but we ask ourselves, what did you learn from that experience? Just to keep it simple. Then obviously we pull something from that and that experience. And by reframing it, we are changing the microorganisms in the soil. So then when we start the process of what you're saying, what did you say? Overcoming the past limitations and mastering mindset. Obviously, by reframing the experience or re-engineering the microorganisms in that soil, then it becomes a lot easier for flowers to come to fruition, or thoughts. And they don't always have to be positive thoughts. They can be constructive thoughts, because sometimes you're in a shitty situation. Any way you cut it's a shitty situation. But you can have a constructive way of looking. How do I come through this? I don't like the storm, but how do I come through the storm? And even then, that soil produces thoughts that produce more constructive emotions, that produce more reflective behavior or constructive behavior, and that feeds a confidence loop. Is this kind of what I've captured what you're saying when it comes back down to your analogy of soil?
100%. And if you allow me here, I think it's very timely to actually break down the steps. Remember, I said every stage, which is the healing, has sub-steps. I think that's a beautiful segue for us to talk about that. And I'm gonna verbatim quote them from the book, because as I mentioned, I'm very systematic. So I want to give the actual wording, because there's a reason for every word I'm using. Excellent. There. So after writing your story, okay, which is what I said, change your story, change your life. That's the baseline of healing your past. The next step after that is actually to appreciate your past, okay? That's a very interesting concept. That's really about honoring your struggles because they have served you. And the image that comes to mind here is basically wearing your scars like a badge of honor. Think of a lion that has a lot of those scars on them. And it's beautiful image for us to remember that we're all living in a wild jungle of life, and whatever it is that you live in, civilization, business, corporate world, there is wildness in the way life deals with us and we deal with life, and we come out scarred. But those scars, if we let them define us negatively, then that is where the problem happens. But if we actually reframe that and go, hold on, this is actually something that I need to honor because it made me who I am today. When I look back at my story, I could tell you so many sob stories in the past. And when I reframed them, they made me who I am today. And this is where that whatever doesn't kill me, make me stronger comes handy. Once you've really appreciated that past element, you actually want to understand what is holding you back, okay? And there's a lot of that trying to prove something, and you have nothing to prove to anybody but yourself. That's a journey, an inner journey. When we were kids, it's normal, we go to mom and dad, mommy, daddy, look what I did. And then mommy and daddy go, oh, good boy, good girl, well done. Okay, but the reality is we're not children anymore, but we repeat and maintain those patterns of seeking approval. It goes from parents into school teachers, into university, into social circles, into our boss. fine, they do serve us in certain healthy doses, and over time we need to have, you know, our own agency. We need to have command over our own life, and that's really when we understand what is actually holding us back. That's the next step in the process. Once we clear that, we go, now that is really clear. The next step is to actually, you pulled back into the past, just let go. It's about releasing that negative emotional baggage. And why I say negative emotional baggage is because we are the ones that turn those emotions into baggage, and we keep carrying through in our life. Something happened at that time, was this. There is nothing to say that my father's a divorce followed by my father's passing away, followed by my whatever it is. None of that I can say it was a beautiful experience. There's value in what I got. There is value in it, but it's not a beautiful experience. So reframing doesn't mean putting makeup on it. I'm not the guy that likes that. I actually like you to look. I'm not a glass half full or glass half empty. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. A realist says the glass is half empty, half full, and how can I fill the empty? That's my approach. So I really want to look at how can I let go of the emotional baggage of, oh, but I'm like this because I'm like this because of that. And because, when you let go of that and go, okay, this was not a mistake. A mistake is something, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me. So the first one was a mistake. I learn from my mistake and I move on. Some mistakes we pay for more than others. You make a big mistake, you lose $1 million. You make a big mistake, you lose a body part. I've injured myself so much. I do a lot of extreme sports. I have 6 damaged discs in my spine. So those things, when you release the emotional trauma of, oh my God, I messed up my neck skydiving, I'm a bad guy. Fine. We do it. We deal with the emotions, let go and go, okay, what's the lesson for me? And then that's where the value comes to the next step, which is turning lessons into wisdom. So once you identify the lesson, you go, that's the wisdom that I live by moving forward. And then you go back and hold on, let me look at the same exact story. Oh, my father passed away. I got a divorce. I moved to a new country. The outcome, I doubled, and this is the actual thing. I doubled my publishing business. I wrote 2 books during the pandemic, launched my online author school, and I've done XYZ, done so many things in that period that I could have not achieved had I not been put in that corner. So that's kind of the summary of the whole healing stage.
If you want more, why not go back and listen to the original full conversation with my guest? You will find the link in the episode in the show notes. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I'll be back next week with my long-form conversational episodes on Monday and the latest BiteSize episode on Friday. And have yourself a relaxing and rejuvenating weekend.